will be the first one to pull the trigger, who can lift and coast. To be in a train is the better option here. Try and keep in the train, lift and coast behind the driver, try to save yourself a bit of fuel. For those that do have a lift and coast approach, especially in the GT3, you've got to carry a lot of corner speed, which also provides its own risk. As we've seen, get a little bit too close to the curbs, it will bite you, it will spit you into the wall, but that's what's needed if you want to go that one lap extra, if you really want to push that a little bit further. The Porsches will have that ability over the Ford Mustangs and the Mercedes. Unfortunately, the Mercedes and Ford Mustang, they do land up with a lot of understeer as you work with lift-off coasting to get yourself towards the sharp end in the field. That's something that comes down to car selection, something you wouldn't have known about at the start of the season, but something as now we've moved on will become more and more prevalent.
Yeah, we'll see if any of our drivers choose to switch up the cars as the season goes on. We've seen a couple drivers change here and there, Steve, but for the most part, they've been fairly loyal to the car they've been in. But we just have to give a little shout out here. Technical issue early on. We're delayed the stream a little bit, but we are live in living color here now. Picking it up with 49 minutes to go in this one. They haven't missed a whole lot, Steven, other than Nick Terrell's charge from his end of line penalty all the way up into top spot as he's trying to pull away from Matt Barber. But that Mustang really showing its legs on the straights here. We can really stretch it out. Although the Porsche, with the update of the BOP that iRacing employed about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, it looks like the Porsche really found a little bit of top speed here the last couple of weeks.
Giving a little bit more of a pound boost to it, and much to the excitement of Porsche fans that just really haven't felt too much of that top end pace. It's also got to point out that it isn't groundbreaking pace, but it's just enough that you can take the fight out to the Mustang, the Mercs, the Chevs, unfortunately a little bit further down the order. And as you pointed out, the drivers going and remaining loyal to their cars, loyal to the brands themselves, have been slowly adjusting their setups, not by much, but just enough that they can keep ahead of the competition. Matt Barber, who at the start was the quickest on cold tires, now we're starting to see what the effect of warm tires is going and having a bit of fun, as Nick and Terry Calgar Jr. will have a little bit more grip to play with, but they're also got to be very cognizant of those cars are going to be real tail happy through these tighter sections, where Matt trying to keep as much as possible on the power, seeing if he can hold on to at least keep Nick within sight, but also to keep Terry Calgar Jr., who holds third place right behind, and Wes Amrick. Don't count him out. That Ford Mustang, Wes Amrick has led the charge more than once, knows how to play with the front lot. All he needs is just that one opportunity, that slight opportunity to move forward. He'll be in there like a shot.
Yeah, you can keep that pack up ahead of him just in viewing distance. He knows what's going on with them, Stephen. Might be trying to save a little bit of fuel, as you mentioned. They do have to make a pit stop at some point in time. Now, we've seen, depending on the track we've been at, there's been a couple drivers who have been able to one-stop it. And then other tracks like Road America last week, everybody needed to make the two stops. So interesting to see if any of our drivers are able to save enough fuel here, potentially to employ a one-stop pit strategy here tonight, Stephen.
At this stage of the game, I think that is the game plan. You want to at least do one stop, get it done, game over, move on. Question is, how late are you going to get it done? Many of the drivers are going to try leave it to at least the last lap to just dive in the pits and get it done, as we do see a little bit of a mistake coming in from Porsche, and that's Justin Togdegno, unfortunately into the wall, just got tail happy, tried to save it once, 3 times more, and unfortunately a solid knock, and that will be a Porsche limping back to the pits. Joshua Suxi is going to be more than happy on his drive. Let's quickly take a look at what happened to Justin. He's got Brad on the back of him, going around the long right-hander, and it just kicked out under throttle. Try to save it, bang, into the wall. Unfortunately, those Oncos, just like magnets, can pull you in at a rate of knots.
Yeah, it's the second Porsche that we've seen that happen to this evening, Steven, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Maybe the Porsche's running this is a fixed setup league, but maybe the wing just not quite enough downforce in the back end of those Porsches, get it a little trimmed out a little bit, or they need to be a little more careful with the throttle. Seems to be working well for Nick Terrell and Terry Calgary Jr. up ahead, but that, as I mentioned, it's the second Porsche we've seen that happen too. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we got a battle here right now for 7th and 8th place between Paul Skip in the Orlando Corp IMSA replica paint job. I always love that sharp looking paint scheme on that Corvette, but Gerald Lowry with the McDonald's Mustang looking real racy in behind him, trying to find a way left and right around the Corvette of Skip.
Trying to see where he can move forward and hoping that the McNuggets can change the course of this battle. As at the moment, Lowry taking a big sniff on the inside, door-to-door contact, and it's going to be Skip up against the Oncos. Not too bad of damage, but I'm sure a few words said underneath that helmet as he tries to keep the car together, and once again running out wide. Tires are dirty, and unfortunately it looks like it's running afoul. Ryan Tyler going to see him and see, okay, here's my opportunity down the main straight. Here we go into the slipstream, holding on to 4th gear, keeps the power on, and now just pulls himself closer and closer. Unfortunately for Paul Skip, it all went wrong, and now he's just going to be a sitting duck down the straight. Ryan Tyler going and lining him up side by side. They go. Skip hopefully going to be able to get that car back into the slipstream, pull himself back into the fight, but you can see might be feeling a little bit of pain on the front suspension from that knock, and is unfortunately losing more and more time. Paul Skip not going to be the happiest camper as Matt Barbaro, first of our top runners into the pits with Wes Emmerich as well. The 2 Ford Mustangs out of the top 5 saying, let's get ourselves sorted and continue on with the race, leaving the rest of our mid-engines, Nick Turrell, Terry Calgary Jr., Justin Ladd, to go a little bit further.
And I'm kind of surprised we didn't see Paul Skip hop into the pits that time by Stephen. They're obviously within the fuel window, potentially a little bit of damage on that right side, specifically the right front, as you mentioned, with that kiss into the wall. I don't think the first contact was all that bad when he got the hip check from, who was that? That was Gerald Lowry when he made the move by him. I think it was that second hit that where he went off on the zone where he's carrying a little too much pace to the next corner. I think that's the one that probably hurt the right front steering a little more.
Unfortunately taking a bit of that top end, maybe now thinking, hang on, I've got that little bit of damage to the car, let me see if I can go a bit further. He is going and trying to keep at the top of the run, holding on to 6th place with Tyler just ahead of him, not wanting to lose track of it, but also need to rather be careful. Let's take a look at the replay once again. So it was Lowry, looks towards the inside, gets it done, a small hip check onto the left, nothing bad, a little bit of impact to the right hand side. Tires are still covered in dirt, and as he gets through the second carousel, there's a light tap against the wall. It's one thing I've got to say, iRacing going and having the new debris system put in, and also for the debris to stay on the time, making things a little bit more tricky, means that if you fall off the first time, you've got to be well enough aware to back the pace off, go and scrub those tires clean and try and get yourself going. The question is, how much damage is actually sustained on that car, and is it going to be controllable as they head back out onto the ring? So far though, Wes Emmerich out down in 14th position. He is currently leading out those that have done their pit stop and looking to carry on the momentum forward. He got out ahead of Matt Barbaro, despite them both coming in at the same time. Matt seems to have a slower pit stop and is now having to scratch his head on what he needs to do to close down the distance to Wes further up. And big mistake, big impact. Matt, severe damage to the front left of that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I think he might have took tires, Stephen. He was 22.2 seconds in his stall, and generally that means he took tires. That's exactly how long it takes for 4 tires. So I think that was just a case of cold tires on his out lap there. Went a little wide into the wall, and definitely a ton of damage on that left front now. We'll have to see how that impacts him, because unfortunately he just completed his pit stop, so it's not like he can just pop in next time by and utilize that quick repair and get his service done. So unfortunate here, turn of events for Matt Barber.
You can say with that left tire getting shown, he's just turned that Ford Mustang into a little bit of an SDK on SK modified. And this is what happened. As it goes through the left hand, it just snapped on him, and that was all she wrote. Into the wall. Can almost hear the oh no bang behind the helmet, waiting for the impact. And now has got a very, very long drive. The main thing about this race, Rob, is no matter what happens, if you see the green, you got to see the checkered. You've got 20 cars on the circuit, every opportunity to score points here. And regardless of what happens, if you get it to the end, you will be scoring points for the championship. And considering we're on the back end of the championship, this is round 8. Drivers hoping to make it work. West trying to get the drift. Can he keep it out of the wall? Oh, slight contact. He's able just to save it. A beautiful drift. I'd give it about a 6 out of 10. The execution was great, but the finish was a little bit rough.
Yeah, back-to-back Mustangs we've seen struggle here on their outlap after coming in for some service here. Stephen, Matt Barber now closing up on the back of Wes Amick and Gerald Lowry there too as well. So all three of our Ford Mustangs, no line astern here on track. We'll see if maybe they can work together to move their way through the field, as it looks like the tables have turned here with the Porsche struggling earlier on. But it looks like it's now we're 20 minutes into this one. The Mustangs starting to feel a little bit of a ride on the struggle bus.
And for Gerald Lowry, he's going to be hoping to take a deep breath and keep that car, seeing his fellow Ford Mustang brother and unfortunately bite the wall, and he's the only one that hasn't gone and clipped the wall as yet. But a lonely driver at the front, Nick Turrell, has got a lot of room to Terry Calgary Jr. and hoping to score some major points here tonight as he enters the carousel, spits himself at the end. Terry holds on to second place slowly but surely, trying to close that gap down of 2.1 seconds. But both drivers able to get their first lap time sub 8 minutes, a 7:53.8. Nick Cargo Jr. able to get a 7:55.0 on that last time. You can see taking it rather gentle in and out through the corners, not wanting to push it too hard, but also giving a lot of lift and coast. And Terry Calgary Jr. might not be having the top end pace, but at this stage might be fishing for that extra 0.1, 0.2 to see if he can get that extra lap, as it's lift and coast the whole way.
Well, one thing's for sure, Stephen, both of these drivers leading the way here are going to be keeping an eye on the relative, because Ryan Tyler, our championship leader on the pro side, coming into this one, took over that top spot from Terry Calgary Jr. after last week's performance at Road America. Comes in leading this one, started at the back, serving his end-of-line penalty. He's been moving his way up through the field slowly here. Still about 20 seconds back of Terrell and Calgary Jr., but it's just kind of slow, steady, smooth pace here. Got himself up into 5th place.
I think this is what makes the challenge for the circuit. This is not about pace. When we talk about it takes 7 minutes to get around the circuit, this is a circuit that rewards consistency, rewards rhythm, and also rewards you just keeping a lap together. One mistake can cost you seconds around the circuit. I'm not talking about 1 or 2. You can look up to 7 seconds easily by getting it wrong through the circuit, and also rewards drivers just to focus on not going for position, but also to keep up on your delta every single time. It's so easy to get lulled into a basic rhythm to just, okay, well, I'm gonna keep it easy, maybe lift a little bit earlier, that you can lose out precious time. This is a track that ultimately it's you versus the clock. Who will break first, you or the machine? As the Green Hell does not take anything for granted. Sean Adkins, however, following Maynard around, and Stephen Maynard, a good drive on his part. The two Chevrolets just running line astern, helping out each other onto the main straight here. And I do think that for Sean, he's not wanting to lose out too much time, looking to try and move back up through the order. However, does not want to lose track of his drafting buddy, something we get to see a lot of it in oval racing. Working with your drafting buddy around the circuit, try and pull you a little bit closer, but also save a bit of fuel.
Yeah, we'll see if these two flat plane V8 Corvette drivers can work together. I gotta ask you, Stephen, what do you think of the flat plane sound of the C8 Corvette? Some people like it. They like that high-pitched screaming flat plane sound, where some prefer the old V8 rumble that the Corvette had. Which camp are you in there?
I'm still in the camp of the C8R, to be honest. It had the looks, it had the sound. The new Chevs are a lot of fun, especially to drive on the iRacing. Quite a bit of grip to work with, but they very niche sounding and very niche to drive. I would have to say I'm indifferent on it. It's not a irritating sound to have a long time compared to, I'd say, the Porsche having that diff whine continuously. Makes me want to try and put some Q20 in the car. But it's not Chev as I remember it back from when they were utilizing the big noisy engines, where it was engine up front, driver behind, see how it all. A very unique run for Chevrolet, and the more I get to drive it, the more I get to see it on the iRacing service, the more I'm starting to enjoy it. It starts becoming that little bit of a BMW, that go-to little car. But I won't lie, the GT3 I thoroughly enjoy. It has to be the NSX, just because it's hardly picked, it's hardly used, and with that twin turbocharged V4 that it's able to move up through the order, it's always that, well, I finally managed to get ahead of more cylinders. It just took 2 asthma pumps to get it done.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We've got 2 drivers on back-to-back nights here that we cover, Stephen. Brad McCombs on Monday nights, and then Colin McKenzie on Tuesday nights. They're the sole drivers of the NSX in both those leagues, and it seems like week in, week out, we see those 2 drivers slowly starting to move their way up through the field using the prowess of that NSX. It's not necessarily the quickest car in a straight line, but as you mentioned, the 6-cylinder twin turbo engine really starts to come into its own. In the twisty section, that's where the car really handles its best. It's not the raw outright pace that it has, but you know what? A track like the VLN layout here, the twisty sections, it's going to bode well in those areas.
And one big surprise that's come out is also the Mercedes, like what Devin Lowry is behind. The Mercedes has a lot of oversteer when it needs to, and do we have a bit of a problem here? As Brad trying to clear on past one of our Chevs, that's Paul Skip, who was with a little bit of damage early on, and it's going to be a bit of a moment as Lowry going and catching Brad hard into the wall, and unfortunately that is a Honda written off. A side-by-side moment that wasn't looking to end up all too well. Unfortunately, Brad now crabbing badly around the circuit will, I think, tow back to pits, but a moment that started with Paul Skip a bit slow, that allowed Brad McCombs to go and dive up on the inside. He also slowed up quite a bit to allow Devin Lowry to get into the mix as well. Let's take a look. Skip goes and fouls up Brad. Lowry looks to the inside, side by side, and unfortunately the hip check through the right hand, unfortunately smashing the back of that Honda. And that's all she wrote. Collapsed rear suspension, crabbing his way through him for Brad. That is a major impact that's going to come in for the championship. Lowry going to be moving up to first, but not quite the way he wanted to. I mean, that's a risky call to go side by side at the first half of the circuit. However, it ends terribly for Brad McCombs, but still has that fast repair to get the car back out just to keep the points on the table. Matt Barbaro all over the back of Wes Amrick as he's trying to push a little bit harder. The 2 Mustangs that were up towards the sharp end now holding on for 5th and trying that utmost best to stay in for a solid drive. We've got to remember these 2 pulled in a lap earlier than our 3 Porsches ahead of him.
Yeah, they both came in on lap 2. Steven, and I think they're both sporting a little bit of damage too as well. We can slowly see Alex Velasco just at a camera shot in behind these two Mustangs. He's been slowly working his way up through the field too as well, up 9 spots. The Adrenaline Motorsports driver finding his way through the field, starting to cue a little bit of the Jaws music here as he's chasing down those two Mustangs up ahead. It's going to be a battle of the big old lumpy V8s here, the Merc German V8 versus the American Muscle V8 in the Mustang.
And that also brings into the next question I've got to ask Rob. Between the two V8s that we have out on circuit, between the Ford Mustang, the newer of the GT3 cars that so far has taken iRacing by storm, it's also been starting to become that favorite go-to for a lot of drivers when they need a little bit more power underneath them versus what was seen as a difficult car last season to drive, with having the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. What would be your pick of the V8s, especially around the VLN circuit? Two very different ideas. One with the Mercedes a little bit more of a lift-off oversteer, as it's a lot lighter on the rear, putting all the weight towards the nose, or the Ford Mustang where it's a little bit more balanced out compared to the Mercedes.
Man, you know, it's a good question. I struggle to really find pace in either car. I'm not a front motor rear drive driver here, Steven. I've always struggled. So the Mustang, the Mercedes, always had a hard time. Even the BMW, I have a hard time really extracting the pace out of them. I need a mid motor or the rear motor of the Porsche 911 GT3 RS for me to really find a lot of time. But that said, it's hard not to enjoy driving that Mustang. Just listening to the V8, it's just like that engine just screaming. It's like I want to rip your head off and everybody's head off around me on track, and that's what I'm going to do. Where the Mercedes, a little more refined. It's got a little more, you know, it's got that German refinement to it. It's got a little more a lumpy V8 to it, where I find the Mustang a little more higher pitch. It's just like it's screaming nonstop. It's almost like, you know, that 3-year-old child with like ADD where they're just going all day long. Where the Mercedes is more like that it's a 3-year-old classmate who maybe takes piano lessons this time. A little more refined, sitting over their piano, tickling the ivories, just watching what's going on, while the Mustang is just out there trying to cause mayhem.
Fair enough. One thing I've found with the Mustang, especially on this circuit, is I've got to put in the booster seat just to be able to see over the nose. That's short man problems, that is for certain. But let's take a look up the field. Paul Skip onto the back of Devin Lowry as they fighting out for the GTD AM, both running nose to tail. Paul Skip trying to see if he can get the Chev up on the inside, does get the pass through the second carousel. Devin Lowry running up a little bit high, got a bit of a poor exit, and that allowed Skip not only to get round him easily, but also carry a lot of momentum, getting it down onto the main straight. Devin Lowry not quite carrying the pace that he would like, and it looks like possibly a bit of damage from earlier contact is starting to play its hand here.
Yeah, he had that hip check with McCombs that sent him off into the wall, and Brad McCombs still in the pits here, going on close to about 5 minutes now on that tow, Steven. So rough potential end of the race here for Brad McCombs, even utilizing the quick repair. It's going to cost him a ton of time. It looks like Matt Barber back in for his second pit stop here. So this is going to be 2 stops early on here for Matt Barber. I'm not sure if this is a scheduled stop, although he was one of the first drivers in for his fuel service to start with. But, you know, if they're doing 2 stops in the first 34 minutes of this race, we could see a 3-stop race here tonight.
Well, this, I think, is a repair to the front suspension after he nailed the wall pretty hard. But I also did see a black flag pop up for possibly a pit lane infringement coming into the pit. So it is a bit of a tricky one, because you do come quite quick and you have to brake all the way down to 60 kilometers an hour, and most drivers have to really stand on the anchors, and sometimes you just happen to be 65 or 80 kilometers an hour just as you get to the pit lane. And I think Matt did exactly that while trying to get into pit lane. trying to sort out his car after the damage early on. But from leading out the field at one stage of the game, now falling down the order to 15th. Matt not having an easy time out there. And this will be a very bitter pill to swallow in the race because, I mean, you were out of the top and it just all fell apart when it came down to the first lap out of pit lane and taking it onto the ring. Unfortunately, understeer going and smashing the front left of that car, and it just seems to not work out in his favor. But let's take a look back. We've got Ryan Tyler, who's trying to move forward. He's got Gerald Lowry ahead of him, hoping to try and see if he can catch up. And, well, like a Happy Meal, you've got to have it twice, as so far Ryan Tyler doing everything he can to close up on that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, he's got himself up in the 7th. As we mentioned before he came in for his fuel stop, he had himself up into the top 5, but doesn't look like he quite has the pace here compared to our top 4 or 5 drivers here this evening. Ryan is struggling to get into the 759s, where Nick Terrell, Terry Calgary Jr. routinely going 753, 754, 750.
Okay, cool. Just need to share the screen on Discord.
Yep, we are back, folks. Sorry about that. Get things back up and running here in a matter of moments.
That being said, our drivers still pushing rather hard on circuit. And I've got to say, Rob, our short little technical difficulty has not missed any of the action out on circuit. Instead, we've actually had a little bit of action getting closer and closer. James Foreman under pressure from Sean Adkins, who runs in 11th position, looking for a top 10 fight here against the GT3 AMs that are currently holding on to 9th and 10th position, first and second in their class. And Sean, one of the surviving chefs currently on the circuit, going and having a solid run, gets past James Foreman, and now looking to open up the distance a little bit further.
And it looked like Foreman just kind of pulled over there and let him by. Interclass battle. They realized there was nothing really for him to gain by trying to battle with Sean Atkins. Just let him by. Maybe tuck him behind him, try and find where he's a little quicker. So we'll see here now. Looks like Sean Atkins not wasting any time to checking out here from James Foreman. We mentioned it earlier on. Foreman, a little bit of struggle last week after a dominating first half performance at Road America. He's right now got himself second place in the M class, so still potentially a nice points haul here tonight for James Foreman, who came in leading the M class in points.
That's the whole thing is, do you carry on with the fight? He has to try and make up some room to Devin Lowry ahead, but allowing Sean Atkins through, possibly to hopefully pull himself along a little bit more towards the Mercedes, but also trying to get rid of some of the problems that can run if you're running close out on the Nordschleife. If you run too close against your competitor, you can land up in a big smack that can lose a bit of time. Wes Asmer into the pits, Gerald Lowry diving into the pits. We're starting to see the second round of pit stops coming into play, with a big play coming in here for Amric to hopefully get ahead of would be a Matt Barbaro, who got some work done on his early on, lying in 14th position. Gerald Lowry also diving into the pits, but interesting to see Nick Turrell, Terry Kalgoy Jr., Justin Lane, how still out on the circuit, still going that extra mile. They have not gone in for a second round of pit stops, but were the drivers lifting and coasting out on the ring? Have they found that little bit of fuel to get an extra lap in, or are they just running on, okay, everyone else is going to allow that little bit earlier, I'm going to see if I can get the pit stop done in the last 10 minutes of this race?
And I think we saw them go one lap longer than most of the field at the start, Steven, so not necessarily all that surprising they're going one lap longer, but we'll see if maybe they can go even longer than that and just have a quick little splash when they do come in. As we're now into 18 minutes to go, so they're running just under 8-minute laps. That's only about 2.5 more laps here, depending when the leader crosses the line. So it's not like they need a whole lot of fuel on this final stop, but it's going to be kind of crucial here. Who's been able to save a little bit? Although Nick Terrell now opened up a 5-second gap over Terry Calgary Jr. in second place, and Justin Lane in third, sitting pretty comfortable. But as you get back a little farther in the pack, things get a little closer, where we got drivers like James Foreman, who's only 3 seconds ahead of Wes Amick, Gerald Lowry only another 3 seconds back of him, Steve Maynard right in there too as well. So something were to happen amongst those drivers, there are positions to be gained.
Every opportunity to move forward, but it's all about staying out on the circuit. For a lot of these drivers, it's just about seeing it through to the end, trying to maximize points. However, drama in the early stages of the race has changed things around, and I talk back to Dan Bonnet, who unfortunately landed up catching the wall, Justin Togdego, who unfortunately caught the curb and then nailed it into the wall, Stephen Chansley as well, and Brad McComb, who unfortunately had that hip check going and putting him into the wall. They're going to be losing points in this championship, but like Brad at the moment, he saw the green, now wants to see the check. It came in leading the championship, and the last thing he wants to do is finish, especially on this circuit, with a DNF behind his name. He wants to try and get it through to the end. It's not completely done and out of it, but a podium position I think is a little bit harder to reach for the little Acura NSX.
Yeah, he's about a lap down right now, but anything can still happen, Stephen. Even just by coming back out, he's picked up one spot from Stephen Charsley, who was still in the pits here serving his repair time from earlier. So McCombs picks up one spot. You never know what happens to the rest of the field up ahead. As we've seen, any driver can make one little mistake and go off into the wall. It's, you know, it's kind of deceiving. You get that feel of whether you're out on like the backcountry road, just kind of driving around, you know, you got nothing but trees. It gives you that false sense of security where you have a lot of wide open space, but those railings, those guardrails on the outside come up real quick, especially with the curbing around the Nordschleife here, where those curbs are real hefty. Get up on them, and as we've seen, a number of drivers get loose. The car gets tossed around. Next thing you know, they're off into the wall, into the guardrail, and potentially race-ending impacts for them.
Yeah, you've got to try and keep it all together, and also this is a circuit that can, as you said, just keep you going like on the country back roads, but it's one of those you can quickly get into autopilot mode and lose a lot of time, as we see James Foreman now having to find it out against Wes Amrick, who is right on his tail. Wes looking for the inside, gets it done, and James deciding, look, you got the inside, I'm not going to fight you and land up with a bit of a problem. But James is also being rather cautious, maybe a little too cautious on his drive, and starting to run into that autopilot mode of just follow the track, follow where it goes, don't worry about it. And that can slowly but surely lull you into that safe security, but also cost you not just half a second around the circuit. You can land up losing 2-3 seconds just by taking a little too easy around the track, and that will allow Stephen Maynard to move up through the order and look at that first place for the GT3 AM class, considering he's 6 positions up from where he started. But we have to talk about the drivers that started at the back end of the field. Nick Tyrrell up 15 positions since the start of the race. Justin Lane up 12 positions since the start of the race. Our 2 hardest chargers in the field have really done a stellar job to put themselves up into podium spots, but you can't take away the fact they had to carve through a very, very tight field to get this done, and to remain in the podium spots where they are right now is not the easiest thing to do, especially here on the Geremstrecke VLN here at the Nordschleife out in Germany.
Yeah, hats off to those drivers that were able to gain that many positions. Unfortunately, we had that technical issue. We didn't get to show the move by Nick Tyrrell, where he picked up about 7 spots into turn 1. He recognized that if he's going to have the race that he wanted to have here, Stephen, he needed to capitalize early on, and that's exactly what he did. He hasn't been looking back since the time he got around Matt Barber, who, you know what, Matt Barber probably not going to be the biggest fan of the VLN layout after this one. He's fallen back all the way into 12th place here as it stands, but you know what? He's still out there charging forward, and your old saying goes, even you see the green, you got to see the checkered. Matt Barber working his way towards that checkered.
Now Matt's also getting a little bit of a horrific drive through the carousel. You could see exiting up at the top a little bit early as the understeer came into play. Not an easy thing to have happen, and it does foul up the drive and also take a lot of that rhythm out, and now he's trying to pick it back up, trying to feel where the circuit goes. And I wonder if the stamina is starting to come through on the circuit, because it's curb to curb, a little bit of a messy entrance and exit, as I've got a funny feeling the red mist is there. He's now trying to overdrive the car instead of finding that rhythm, and is bouncing around. The Ford Mustang just not going as clean as it once was, and Matt trying to just get himself back into the rhythm. As Wes Amrick, we saw him a little bit earlier get James Foreman, looks like now a bit of damage to the front end of the Mustang, and that is going to allow Gerald Lowry to close up the distance.
Yeah, I'm having a look here, not flagged anywhere where Amick had an off track, so I'm not sure what exactly happened to him. But yeah, the right front of that Mustang crying for help. Stephen, is you mentioned that James Foreman going to make his way back by, but you know what, Foreman's sitting comfortably at the top of the AM class. Came in, I mentioned a couple times, leading the points in AM, So he's doing exactly what he needs to do here, Stephen, to try and maximize his points haul and open up that gap as his next competitor, Stephen Maynard, currently sitting back in 11th place in the Bucky's Corvette. He's going to sit there comfortably, cruising along, working his way through the field. It's on set to have that second podium position in AM class.
And I've got to say, love the liveries coming out. The Bucky's livery going and showing a quite a bright and colourful. You can't miss the Chevrolet, but also James Foreman with the Halloween Rexy livery going and showing what he can do out there. But one person that you can't miss on track is most certainly going to be Joshua Suxi. That bright neon pink sitting in the rearview mirrors of anyone's attention, especially out on the circuit in contrast with the trees out there. But Joshua Suxi, a great drive on his part, down in 16th position at the moment, has had a few interesting slides that have cost him a few seconds, but is still out there, still pushing what he can do towards the front. And the Panda Spec Racing Red holding on to Russell Abram ahead of him as the two Porsches just follow in tow. No reason to go hard on the attack as yet, as they're heading down into the final 9 minutes and 53 seconds. Russell minding out of the way, lifting off, will tuck back into the toe of Suxi, and that little bit of a after you gentlemen may help him out a little bit later, because now it allows Suxi to carry the momentum through to essentially be that punch through the air, and for the next lap might be his undoing.
It gives Abraham a chance to save a little bit of fuel here, so we'll see how that battle develops as the last 9 minutes of this race play out. Well, we're having a look at them. Nick Terrell Jr., Nick Terrell, Kerry Cowger Jr., Justin Lane, Alex Velasco, and Ryan Tyler all came in on lap 6 to complete their second fuel stop, so they are now good to go to the end. Stephen Terrell still holding a comfortable 6-second gap over Cowger. Cowger another 12 seconds ahead of Justin Lane, so looks like our top podium position is pretty much settled, but potential battle here between Velasco and Tyler. Velasco currently sitting in 4th place. Tyler only 1.2 seconds back of him. And Ryan Tyler came in leading the Pro Championship. His two major competitors, Nick Terrell and Terry Cowger Jr., up at the sharpest end of the sharp end of the field here. Tyler would like to try and take one more spot away if he can and try and minimize the points lost here this evening.
That's it. And Alex Velasco holding 5th in the championship for our GTD Pro will want to be scoring every point possible, and I don't think he's going to give Ryan the door and say, right, march on through. He's going to have to earn that spot, as both are hunting for the crucial points into this championship. Paul Skip, who was in the Chevrolet, we saw run into a problem. He's lying 4th in the championship ahead of Alex, and now is down in 9th position. If Alex can score points here, means that he can usurp Paul Skip, get into 4th place, and still have a chance to really fight out for the top 3 in the GTD Pro, as it's not done as yet. For Ryan Tyler, he's needing these points. It's absolutely crucial, because 2nd and 3rd in the championship, Terry Cowger Jr. holds 2nd, Nick holds 3rd, will be maximizing points over Ryan Tyler, who at this stage is not too far ahead. I mean, 50 points separation between 1st and 2nd coming into this race, and Ryan Tyler is on a hiding to lose that top spot to Terry Cowger Jr. at this rate. So he is needing these points. It's absolutely crucial, and despite it being a difference of 1st versus 5th, these drivers are going to fight it out like it's the last lap in the last race of the biggest Grand Prix of their lives. Both of them putting a wheel off into the dirt, both pushing as hard as they can in the same machinery. So there is no benefit of BOP. It's down to pure driver skill to get these two behemoth of a cars around a very, very tight circuit with 6 minutes and 35 seconds to go. You start to sit on that and go, hang on, this is just a lap, and this is under a lap that I've got to get this pass done. I have to make it happen now, or go and resign myself to finishing in 4th or 5th position.
Yeah, you nailed it there, Stephen, when you said it's a driver battle. Fixed setup series, so they both run the same setups, they both run the same car. It's come down to driver skill here. Who knows the VLN layout better than the other one? I'm starting to wonder here if Alex Velasco maybe is paying a little more attention to his mirrors than he really wants to do. It's difficult, dangerous to do at a normal racetrack, but you get out here, the high speeds of the VLN. Oh, you get up on the curb, little kiss in the wall. That's all Ryan Tyler's going to need to take over that spot.
Unfortunately, a little too much, a little too wide, and looked like he backed it down to 5th. However, just that little bounce on the curb turned the Mercedes into a Ducati with that bit of a lift going on 2 wheels. And unfortunately, that has pretty much set the mark. And let's quickly take a look at it. As you said, was watching the mirrors, kept it rather wide, turned in early, clipped the curb, and that was all she wrote. And all that was needed to just go and hit the back of that Mercedes. Ryan going to be more than happy to open up the drive. The question is, can Alex Velasco keep on the back of Ryan Tyler to try and draw him in to see if he can get that slipstream to gun it past come the main straight? Or is he going to be sitting in that 5th place trying to just get his breath back after a seriously quick off that could have landed up in some serious tears?
Absolutely, we'll keep our eyes on that. Our leader heading into the final sector of the lap here now. They will be picking up the white flag this time by here, Stephen. This is still our closest battle on track. I thought maybe Ryan Tyler might pull away once he got by Alex Velasco. He did for a bit, but Velasco looks like he's starting to charge back here now, trying to mount a charge, knowing that they're coming up to the back end of this lap. With only 1 more to go, he's going to run out of potential opportunities to take that position back. So keep an eye on this. This is a battle in our pro class, and it's for the final 2 positions in the top 5.
It's all about keeping the momentum, and I think the adrenaline is flowing as Alex is all over the back of Tyler, pushing harder and harder, now making his way through. Let's try and see if he can keep it all together. For the likes of Tyler, it's all about not watching the mirrors and just getting your entrances and apexes. For Alex, he is a man on a mission, charging onto the back, looking every opportunity. When we saw in car, quite frantic on the steering wheel as Wes Emmerich getting a black flag. It's a drive-through for him towards the end. Not ideal running, but man, oh man, Alex on a mission. Brad unfortunately got it wrong yet again. The Honda meeting the side and will be losing a bit of time. But these 2 Mercedes, it is Alex versus Ryan Tyler, both in a drag race. And I don't know who said what to Alex, but he is absolutely in for a fight. He's in for a war, and Ryan Tyler is going to have to see what he can do. These 2 are going to be battling it out for 4th, but you can swear they in it for the fight for 1st place.
Now Velasco a little later on the brakes. Ryan Tyler backed out earlier, going to give that spot back to him. So there they go. They're going to pick up the white flag this time by 1 more time for these drivers to duke it out here, Steven. See who can get 4th place, who's going to have to settle for 5th. But let's take a look at what happened to our little NSX, Brad McCombs, who's had a rough race. Thought he was just going to put in some laps here, get to checker flag. But unfortunately, sometimes, Steven, it looks like just kind of snap hooked around him. What I was going to say is sometimes, when you're trying to underdrive these cars, it doesn't work out well. You know what? They're not real heavy on the downforce. They have a fair bit of downforce, but they're not like an open wheel Formula 3, Formula 4 car with that prototype, that level of downforce. But to make the mechanical the grip that they need when you're not using the downforce, you have to actually throw it in there at a decent pace. And sometimes when you're trying to underdrive these cars, just take it easy. You're just not developing enough grip where that happens, where you can just lose the back end of the car. And unfortunately, looks like that might have been what happened to Brad McCombs.
Also, with that type of corner, it's very deceptive as you go and you think you can hold 3rd gear and carry the momentum, but it tightens up underneath you that you have to back it down to 2nd. You can quite easily get short-sighted by the corner itself. and that little oh shucks moment to straighten out the steering just flattens out the car, bottoms it out a little bit, and unfortunately, as we saw, can lead you into a bit of a spin. But take a look at our two Mercedes sliding their way onto the ring. Alex and Ryan going hammer and tongs, both going and sliding the cars around. These two know what's on the line. They know they need to maximize points for the championship. For Alex, it is points to try and move up into third of the championship to try and usurp Paul Skip, who's fourth in the championship. But Alex still has an opportunity to put himself into the top three towards the end of the season, but it's going to be Ryan Tyler up on the inside. Alex got a poor exit. Ryan Tyler trying to keep championship hopes alive. And man, oh man, these two are going to brawl it out to the end. It might be the Porsche 1, 2, 3, but it is the Mercedes war at the back. Ryan Tyler so far quicker through the first section of the ring. Can he hold back Alex, who was quicker through the last portion of the ring?
It looked like Velasco got up on the curb, got a little loose, gathered it back up, but unfortunately lost a little bit of time, lost a little bit of mile per hour, and that's all Ryan Tyler needed to get himself back up front. So we'll see. This is what happened last lap, where Tyler capitalized on a mistake by Velasco, but Velasco was able to utilize the draft, work his way back up and around him before the final set of corners. We'll see if Velasco can do that again. But story of the day has been Nick Terrell, who once he got out front hasn't looked back, just continues to hold a comfortable lead over Terry Calgary Jr., although Calgary Jr. has closed that gap a little bit. It's now under 5 seconds, but unfortunately I think Terry's going to run out of time here to mount a charge on Nick, who's been comfortably driving away up front.
Justin Lane as well, a driver that has just kept himself together slowly but surely, just kept the consistency, was able to move up into third, and has been one of those quiet drivers, ones that have been around and slowly but surely picking up the spots, sitting underneath the radar during the course of this race, and that sometimes is the best driver to be around. However, the ongoing war between Alex and Ryan still continues on for fourth and fifth so far. Oh, big look around the outside for Go. He is pushing harder and harder, and I think to overdrive the car, starting to feel it more and more. Ryan puts the wheel off, but you can see Alex utilizing more of the circuit. Side by side they go again, heading into the long left-hander, and man, oh man, Alex is taking every opportunity, but I do think he's flirting with limits. This car can either work well for him, or he might be meeting the guide rails of the Nordschleife circuit, and unfortunately that will take him out of the running. But Alex has got the mentality of, I got to get it done now, or I'm not going to get it done at all. For Ryan Tyler, this is a race and a half that you can smile, you can go ear to ear. This is fantastic, but can end in tears for both drivers as they push a little bit harder. Ryan a little bit more hard on the defense against Alex Velasco. However, Velasco more than happy to just send the car wherever he can, left, right, and down the center. Doesn't matter where it is. And the pace. Oh, big mistake coming in from Ryan Tyler. Puff of smoke ahead of them. They will take a look and see, okay, not quite an issue as yet. Yellow flag's gone, but man, oh man, Lane. Alex on a mission.
Yeah, that was just a lane with that puff of smoke. Yeah, there's potential here, but we'll see if Justin Lane can get himself back up to pace, but these guys still battling it out tooth and nail here, as you mentioned, Steven. Alex Velasco, we saw him go sideways, or I like to say slideways, through a couple of these corners, definitely heating up those back tires. And it looks like it's starting to be his detriment here now, as Ryan Tyler starting to open up a bit of a gap now over Velasco.
If my eyes didn't deceive me there, Justin Lane's got a little bit of front end aero damage. Looking at the times, he's losing time, he's losing pace. And I think this is going to help out Velasco and Ryan Tyler, who now see, hold on, we're not just fighting for fourth at the moment. If we can close this gap, it's going to be rather close. They can possibly go hunting for a top three situation, as they are really closing down the difference between themselves and Justin Lane. The question is, are the two going to carry on brawling out with one another to go and help Justin Lane in closing or opening up the distance? Or is Justin Lane about to get mugged by two Mercedes down the long straightaway and possibly on the last lap lose that podium? What a way to get absolutely caught out, and a gutting blow for that. But at the moment, Nick Tyrrell and Terry Calgary Jr. looking to keep it all clean. And it looks like Nick more than happy, starting to have early celebrations. I would be a little bit cautious on that one. The moment you think, I've got this, well, Lady Luck tends to walk out the pits. And good old Murphy with that 13 spanner you lost a week ago and then that you lost a month ago tends to rear his ugly head.
Yeah, I think Nick Tyrrell was having to save quite a bit of fuel the last lap or two, where we saw Terry Calgary Jr. really take a nice chunk out of that gap. But only a couple more corners to go here for Nick Tyrrell, and he'll have this one wrapped up. Week 8, round 8 of 10. Looks like it's going to go the way of Nick Tyrrell. Across the line he goes. Terry Calgary Jr. going to come home in second. Justin Lane looks like he's going to have enough of a gap here over Tyler and Velasco to bring home that third spot. But here, the real battle between Velasco and... Velasco and Tyler. I think maybe Ryan Tyler's out of fuel, and Alex Velasco doing the kind thing, pushing them back to the line.
That's very helpful. Very nice of Alex Velasco to do that. But did they forget about Gerald Lowry in the Mustang, who I don't think is going to do the same courtesy, and he's just made up 2 spots. Lowry saw this, went, well, thank you for opening the door. Unfortunately, Ryan Tyler and Velasco going and losing out the run. Gerald Lowry robs both of them right at the line. It's an Italian job for Gerald Lowry at 4th place. Velasco doing the kind thing to Ryan Tyler, but it looks like Velasco dives into the pits as well, catches the wall, and Alex Velasco going to be losing another set of positions as Ryan Tyler finishes 5th. I mean, talk about a race and a half and right down to the wire. But Gerald Lowry just swept that one hook, line, and sinker, rubbing his hands together. Paul Skip will finish up in 8th position, with Devin Lowry going and putting himself first in the GTD AM. Will cross the line in 9th position overall. He's got James Foreman in 2nd place of the GTD AM, finishing up in 11th behind Matt Baldero. Wes Amrick, after a little bit of a nightmare drive, it is going to be Verstappen.com car diving into the pit lane, will finish up 3rd, and what a drive on his part. I've got to say, you can't make up the drama, but here at the Pony Express GT3, you can't take your eye off the ball, even if there is 2 corners left in the race.
You know what the worst part of that a whole schmozzle, I think, was, Steven, is Alex Velasco just trying to give a helping hand to Ryan Tyler. As you mentioned, not only did Gerald Lowry come up and steal their lunch money and run away, Velasco got a black flag for incident points on that. Had to, he can't serve a black flag penalty on the final lap, so he dove into the pits. But either way, he's still going to get a 30-second penalty after the fact. So potentially could lose another spot or 2 still yet.
Oh, that is a nightmare. 5th in the championship. You're trying to be the good guy, and unfortunately, you just got drop kicked off the side of the balcony. I mean, that is just... Oh, man. I don't know quite what to say. That's a bitter, bitter pill to swallow. Not a spoonful of sugar to help that medicine go down, that's for certain. Brad, though, however, has also had a nightmare state of affair out in the GTD AM class, but is looking to get the Acura NSX across the line, and has been a gentle drive for him towards the end. Brad, however, hasn't had the easiest of runs, losing a bit of points in the championship, but Devin Lowry going and putting himself into a solid charge, making a good bunch of points for his championship. However, the Pony Express, I've got to say, giving us all the bit of excitement right until the wire, and we said it It was 13 corners earlier. Don't take your eyes off the prize. Anything can happen. Lady Luck can step out of the pits, and you may have Murphy waiting to go and remind you of this is GT3 racing. This is a Pony Express GT3 challenge, and you are fighting tooth and nail. Don't get comfy.
Nailed it. You nailed it, Steven. And with only 2 weeks left in the season, that's going to make the championship battles very, very interesting. While we wait for Brad McCombs to finish up his lap and make things official, let's take a quick look here at the schedule. We're doing 12 weeks. My correction. I believe the following season is 10 weeks coming up. Watkins Glen next week, Circuit of the Americas, Imola, and then the 2-hour extended night race at Road Atlanta to cap everything off. So a couple of great tracks still heading towards the end of this season with championship battles. Going to get interesting. Let's take a quick little recap of the championship battles here just to give us an idea of how things were looking coming into this one. Steven, as I saw Brad McCombs just finishing up there, rough night for him. James Foreman going to take over top spot in AM. Ryan Tyler potentially might lose his lead in the pro category too as well. Nick Terrell and Terry Cowger Jr. sniffing at his heels.
Yeah, definitely a hard one. And well, there's a Honda unfortunately getting the lawnmower treatment through the sand into the dirt up against the wall. And I think Brad just deciding it's done and dusted. Well, our finishing order for our GTD be Nick Terrell taking the win over Terry Calgar Jr., Justin Lane third, Gerald Tyler, Sean Adkins, Paul Skip getting the run in 7th position, followed by Matt Barbaro, Alex Velasco, who tried helping, being the good guy, finishes up in 9th, with Wes Amrick in 10th, and Stephen Chauncey, unfortunately, not able to see it through to the checkered flag.
And over in AM class, we've seen Devin Lowry taking top spot away from James Foreman, and Stephen Maynard rounding out the podium with Joshua Susie and Russell Abraham rounding out the top 5. Then Stone, McCombs, Targdogno, and Barnett going to round out our 9 AM drivers here this evening. So, you know what? Some drivers that probably aren't all that eager to get back to doing Nordschleife racing, 24-hour racing again, Stephen. But you know what? All in all, I think it was a heck of a race.
Well, it definitely turned the championship on its head. And, well, I think if you got yourself comfortable, Watkins Glen is going to make it a little bit more interesting. That being said, I have a couple of drivers to chat to after a very, very race for them out on a very, very difficult circuit, Robin. I can't wait to get the feel from the drivers of what exactly happened out there, going and fighting in their respective classes. We do have 3rd place of our GTD AM with Stephen Maynard. We do have James Foreman, Nick Turrell, Terry Cowger Jr. Does look like we're missing Justin Lane, however. And, well, one person I think is going to be smiling, who we're not going to have a chat to, but would love to, would be most certainly Gerald Lowry going and taking that 4th spot.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see if he pops in a little bit later. But you know what? Let's bring in our race winner, Nick Terrell, to catch up with Steven Kurnick.
Nick, welcome to the commentary box. What a drive for you, buddy, and a victory on one of the toughest circuits in the iRacing service. How are you feeling out?
Pretty good. It's helped make up for a roller coaster of a 24 that I dealt with. So I probably put in every bit of 10 hours or so in a Porsche. The only difference was the fixed setup versus open setup. It was a little looser in the open setup, believe it or not. So I had to kind of get used to that. And then this track was hotter than what I dealt with during the 24. So just had to adapt. And I was glad that turn 1, lap 1 was so open. No one blocked off the inside line there. So that gave me several more spots. So it's just all about trying to keep it clean and push, not let Terry and some of the other front runner guys that didn't have performance EOLs just run away.
Now we've got to ask the question, planning for the pit stops. I mean, this is a circuit that took you sub 8 minutes to get around, but still a long consideration of when you're going to get into the box. You're going to sit for a bit of time. what was the game plan, knowing the competition of Terry Calgary Jr., Justin Lane, those two closing up on you at a rate of knots, and at any moment you took your foot off the gas, would be more than happy to rob you of the win?
Yeah, it's just a matter of just seeing the gap to each car in front. And those two Mustangs were pretty fast. Had to take any little mistake that anyone else made to take advantage of that. And luckily, just was able to get by and try to run my race and not take any tires type deal. And knowing Terry on that second stop, first stop, he did take tires, and just trying to see how everything would balance out, if he was going to reel me back in or not. I think if we had one more lap, he probably would have got me.
Oh, still an incredible race. With 4 races left in the championship, you feeling positive to try and take the lead of it? Ryan Tyler going and finishing behind you. Terry Calgary holding second place at the moment. You're in third. 140-point difference coming into this race. Now a little bit smaller. Do you feel that first place is on the cards for the end of our Pony Express GT3 Championship now that we're heading into round 9 at Watkins Glen?
Yeah, I like Glenn. I'll be starting behind everybody. Found out I ended up jumping the line a little bit there before the actual start line, so I'll be getting an EOL behind all the other EOLs next week most likely. So it should be entertaining.
That's going to be a great one to watch. And, well, we've seen you pull it from the brink the last time. Let's see if you could do it all again. Nick, before we let you go to enjoy the celebration, anything you want to say to the drivers, to the teams, to the admin behind the scenes here at Pony Express, but also to the virtual grandstand cheering you on as they all keep an eye out right here on the Races Nexus channel?
Yeah, you all for doing the broadcast. Everyone else for putting the group on. Everyone that actually shows up each week. 20 folks tonight at the Green Hell was pretty good. My wife for kind of the standard deal. She's very flexible and understanding with all this sort of stuff. It's a hobby that gets me into the virtual races without going out being too crazy and a little more cost effective. So always glad to come out. Thanks for broadcasting.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Nick, congratulations on a stellar run, and we look forward to having a chat to you next time out right here on the Pony Express Sim Racing GT3. What a drive on his part to score the victory. But Rob, with that being said, you've managed to grab hold of our next chat here in the commentary booth.
Yeah, let's bring in our second place finisher in Pro, second overall as well. Terry, looks like you were able to close in on Nick at the last couple laps. He was saving a little bit of fuel. Did you start getting a little anxious, thinking maybe you could chase him down?
I did. I shouldn't have taken tires on that first pit stop, so that cost me. And then I took probably a lap and a half too much fuel on that last pit stop, so that didn't help matters either. But I was really hoping I could make up the difference. It just took me a little too long to get back in the groove after the pit stops.
Now, we saw a couple of the other Porsche drivers a little farther back in the field struggling early on at the start of the race, keeping the back end of the 911 behind them. Does it seem like the updated BOP that iRacing put in place a week or two ago back has made the back end of the Porsche a little looser than what it was? Is that something that drivers having to tend with now?
I don't think so. I don't feel like, for me anyway, it doesn't feel like it may be. To me, it actually feels like it's got a little bit better grip. It just doesn't have the nose, especially on cold tires. But once the tires get hot, it pretty much is, to me, feels like a point and shoot type of thing. But it still has that on power oversteer to where it, if you're not exactly where you need to be, it's not gonna turn like you want it to at times because it's got too much traction.
Okay, that's good to know. We'll keep an eye out for that. Next week, we're going to head to Watkins Glen. I believe the full boot layout should be a fun change from the long, lengthy track here at Germany. How are you feeling about heading into Watkins Glen, potentially having a championship dogfight between you, Nick, and Ryan going down to the line here?
I feel pretty good about Watkins. Not super thrilled with starting in the rear, but it is what it is. I think started in the back last season and came back to finish second behind Nick, actually, I think, if I remember correctly. So Watkins is generally a pretty decent track for me. So I feel pretty good. You know, and again, it's Nick and Tyler. I think Tyler will actually be overseas in Hong Kong or something for work. So he's looking for a sim center to use while he's there. So, but it's going to be a good dogfight to the end between the three of us, I think.
Well, we look forward to watching it come down the line. A couple of great tracks still heading the way to finish up the season. But before we let you go, Terry, anybody want to give a shout out watching at home?
Yeah. Don't know if I have anybody watching at home, but if I do, thanks for watching. But really like to just give a shout out to you guys for helping us out with this. Nick and Keith that help me with the league on a daily basis, and all the racers that come out and make this possible for us to keep doing it and having some fun. Great
stuff. Well, best of luck next week at Watkins Glen and into the final 4 races of the season. Hopefully we see you back battling for podiums throughout. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
There we go. Steven is our second place driver. It doesn't look like we have Justin Lane, our third place finisher in pro. So let's bring in our top AM driver here to have a chat with you. That's Devin. Oh, sorry, he's not there either. Let's bring in our second place finisher, James Foreman, to catch up with Stephen Kurdick.
James, welcome to the commentary box. A second place here at the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife Rennstrecke VLN. How are you feeling after the race, and also playing a little bit cautiously here tonight, not getting into unnecessary fights? Seemed like it played off to move you up through the order.
Yeah, that was definitely a sweaty race. I mean, the Nordschleife is always a tough track to basically just race against yourself. So, yeah, I usually try to play it cautious because let the other guys crash and move up in places that way.
Now, with that being said, a second place here tonight will jump you up in the order to get first in the AM Championship. Is the pressure starting to mount, knowing that a chance to win the Pony Express GT3 Championship is now on the cards with 4 races left in the championship?
Yeah, there's definitely some pressure, especially I saw Brad was so quick tonight, but he had an unfortunate accident early, and so that definitely helped me out in the championship points. So I definitely have to take the last 4 races pretty serious and try to do the best I can.
And that being said, the longest of the circuits away, heading to Watkins Glen, what is the game plan for you to get this Halloween Rexy across the line ahead of the pack, and also taking what you've learned here tonight to your advantage?
With Watkins Glen, it's kind of it's a pretty tough track for me. It's hit or miss. I either do really well or I have a big disaster in it. So I think I'm going to have to just on that one, just on my entry and exit speed is where it really counts with that. And then doing the bus stop without incident is always pretty tricky as well.
Well, I think after what you've managed to do here tonight, and also the side-by-side action going and keeping it alive, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you can do come Watkins Glen. Before we let you go to enjoy the celebration, getting a second place tonight, and you managing to usurp Brad in the championship, anything you'd like to say to everyone behind the scenes here at the Pony Express, but also to the drivers, to the teams, and most importantly, to the virtual grandstands out on the Racing Nexus channel?
I'm just really happy to be involved with Pony Express. It's a great league, and the people that run it are fantastic, and they're really friendly, and the racing is very clean and definitely competitive. I mean, we got some great racers out there, and to everyone watching, I want to say thank you for watching. It's really fun to have them broadcasted so we can watch the replays.
Well, an absolute great one. And James, congratulations once again on that second place, and looking to take the lead of the championship in the GT3 AM. Pressure's on to see whether Rexy can see it through to the end.
Definitely.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. James Foreman going and taking the victory. But Rob, you managed to catch up with third place in the GT3 AM, Stephen Maynard.
Welcome in, Steven. I gotta admit, Bucky's paint scheme, always one of my favorite, no matter what car it's on out there. But heck of a race from you. You managed to snatch away the final step on the podium in AM class. How'd your race go from behind the wheel?
Just staying out of the wall and out of other people. I'm not very strong at the Nords. So the biggest thing for me was just not getting any damage, not having to use any of the repairs or anything like that. Stayed clean, tried to stay out of people's way that were faster than me. And yeah, at the very end, I think somebody had some trouble and it ended up putting me in position right there for the last spot on the podium.
It's my partner in the booth here is famous saying, Steven likes to say, if you see the green, you got to see the checkered, and well, to see the checkered, you got to stay out of trouble. And you did that absolutely to a T here tonight. We head to Watkins next week. You feeling a little more confident heading in there?
Oh yes, the next few tracks I'm definitely more confident at, but then again, probably almost everybody else is as well. So I'll just have to put in a little bit of work this week, try to get my times down. And yeah, see if we can try to snag another podium.
Now you're going to have to serve an end-of-line penalty by virtue of finishing on the podium. I'm not sure if that's the first one you've had in this season or not, but you're going to have to try and work your way through the back of the field. The S's at Watkins can be real tricky on lap number 1. What kind of strategy do you think you're going to take into play there? Similar strategy to you had here tonight, just got to stay out of trouble, keep the nose clean on the car, and push forward?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially first lap. You always want to try to stay clear of any first lap shenanigans. People are antsy to get going and trying to get everything they can off the start. So I'll let all that play out. Most of the people that are going to be doing that are much faster than me anyway. They're going to finish ahead of me. I just got to stay within my race. And yeah, keep my nose clean. This is the second or third EOL that I've had to serve, but I don't mind it because starting in the back, I kind of let everybody else cause all the chaos and then just ride on through.
All right, good stuff. Well, before we let you go, anybody want to give a shout out to possibly cheering you on, rooting for you back at home watching or in the virtual grandstands here this evening?
Yeah, somebody's over at the Grid Discord that I'm in. Thanks for watching. They hung around for a little bit.
Well, thank you to them too as well. Best of luck next week and into the final couple races of the season, Steven. Hopefully we see you back at the sharp end of the field again. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, a great one, Rob, and some great fighting action. With that being said, just taking a look at all the discussions after the fact, and I think once we wrap up here, I'm going to go give Alex Valesco a huge hug. The man needs it. Not only sacrificing himself and getting an incident point limit, but also at the same time pulling into the pits to try, after helping his mate Ryan Tyler to get across the line, gets a drive-through penalty on top of that. I think the last one is going to be stubbing his toe, and oh, Alex, I'm coming. I'm going to give you the biggest hug, mate. That is not how you want to have a race day, but good to see a smile still on the face of the driver. But Rob, any last thoughts before we say goodbye to VLN, goodbye to Nürburgring after such a busy time on circuit, and we head back over to the US at Watkins Glen?
No, I think this was exactly what we expected, Steven, but anybody out there potentially watching, thinking about joining the league, you can find a Discord link for the league in the description of the video. They'd love to have you in, but looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm a big fan of Watkins. Coda, I'm kind of hit or miss on. Imola is always a great track, and Road Atlanta, well, Road Atlanta speaks for itself. It's one of the premier tracks, so looking forward to the rest of the season here, Steven. How say you?
I'm absolutely all aboard for it. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be exciting, but it's not over as yet, folks. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, leave a bit of a hug for Alex after a bit of a nightmare affair and we look forward to seeing you guys back here at the Racers Nexus channel. A huge thank you to all our sponsors, and also out here on the Racers Nexus, Apex Sim Racing, Track Cams for Gourmet. Always wonderful to have all the shots coming in, and our production and co-commentary done by Rob Campbell. Massive thank you out to Rob for all the amazing shots. But from myself, Stephen Koenig, we wish you a great time, and like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.